Most photographers are out there spending hundreds or thousands of dollars on their everyday carry camera. And I get it. But what if I told you that this little thing, this 15 years old point and shoot camera that many people overlooked, is probably one of the best everyday carry camera that you can grab right now for around 100 euros? Yeah, let's talk about it. Hi, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Alberto, I'm a photographer and video maker from Rome, Italy. And today we're diving into the Nikon P7000, a compact camera that came out around 2010 and that has been quietly sitting in camera bags and thrift store shelves ever since, completely underappreciated. Now, I know what some of you are already thinking. Why would I use something that old when there are so many better options? And honestly, that's a fair question. But stick with me, because by the end of this video, I think you're gonna look at this camera very differently, and I may end up gifting you a bunch of presets that I like to use on Lightroom with this camera. And why, despite its age, it might be a great camera for street photographers and casual photographers who want something small, portable, and generally fun to use. So let's start with the basics. The Nikon P7000 is a compact camera built around a 1/1.7-inch CCD sensor with 10.1 megapixels. It has a built-in zoom lens that goes from 28 to 200 millimeters equivalent, which is honestly a great range for everyday shooting. And the aperture sits at 2.8 at wide end, stopping down to 5.6 as you zoom in. The body feels solid. It weighs around 300 grams. It has a real optical viewfinder, a 3-inch LCD screen, full manual controls, PMAS modes, and it shoots RAW on a 15 years old camera. That alone was enough for me to start bringing that toy everywhere with me. But I don't like to call this a toy. Let's say it's a serious little machine. Now here's where the things get serious, because this camera has a CCD sensor, not a CMOS one, which basically every digital camera uses today. And there's this ongoing conversation about how CCD sensor looks so much like film. And I'll be honest with you, I'm only partially convinced that it's the sensor itself. Part of it might be just the color science of the period, the way camera manufacturers like Nikon or Canon at the time processed and rendered colors with the film standard in mind. But here's what I can tell you from my experience. With some adjustments in post, I consistently get results from this camera that genuinely reminds me of film, or at least that have that kind of vibe. There's something in the way it handles skin tones, how it renders shadows. It just has a vibe. And for me, that vibe is everything about this camera. Now, I know plenty of people shoots only JPEG on this camera. There's a good friend of mine who swears by it. And honestly, the JPEGs aren't that bad, especially if you shoot in black and white. But my opinion hasn't changed. If you're shooting in RAW, you're in control. Full stop. Apparently, my dog was extremely dehydrated. She's happy, no? And with the P7000 specifically, this matters even more because the dynamic range of this camera is, let's say, limited. You will clip your highlights, you will crush your shadows. There's not a lot of latitude in here. And I guess it's just the reality of shooting with such an old sensor. But when you shoot RAW, you get to recover. Not a lot. Don't expect miracles, but enough. Enough to pull back a blown sky, enough to leave some shadow details. My personal workflow is to protect the highlights when I'm shooting, and then push the contrast in post if necessary. The RAW files give me that control, and that makes the difference. Okay, this is one of my favorite points about this camera. It has a built-in flash. Hear me out. The P7000 flash combined with that CCD sensor and the compressed dynamic range looks like something you could find on someone's MySpace page. One of the most Y2K aesthetics I've ever gotten out of the digital camera. For nights out with friends, a trip out of town with your wife, and even some street photography or a bunch of fancy shots at a concert, this thing absolutely delivers that raw, unpolished, analog decent energy that so many photographers are chasing right now. All this without bringing a ton of equipment with you, leaving your 33 megapixel camera and lenses back home. You'll just need this little Nikon and the willingness to embrace a slightly chaotic experience. Alright, I'm not going to pretend this camera is perfect, because it is not. Let's be real and let's chat about the weaknesses. The autofocus is slow, and by slow I mean slow. Genuinely frustrating sometimes. And on top of that is not always reliable. In bright light, works like a charm. But throw some movement into the scene, lower the light a little, and the autofocus starts hunting. Many times it just give up and you miss the shot. Also, apparently, the shutter button decided to die on me. So almost every time I try to take a picture, it loses it. Now apparently it's working fine, but just a bunch of minutes ago, I lost like 4 or 5 shots due to this problem. The burst rate is 1.3 frames per second. So basically this means forget about using this camera for sports or eye action moments. It's not that kind of street camera where you spray and pray. You have to be patient with it. You have to slow down, read the scene, anticipate the moment, and when the camera commits and finally fires, the result can be genuinely beautiful, but you will miss some shots. You have to make peace with that. Of course, there's no Wi-Fi, no GPS, no USB charging, so keep that in mind. You're going to need a dedicated battery charger. And this is probably one of the biggest weaknesses for a modern everyday carry camera. Also, the internal battery on my model is dead. So every time I took off the battery to charge it, all the settings get lost. And I have to reprogram the whole thing from scratch. Not that funny. But here's the things that brings me back to this camera again and again. It fits in my pocket. Literally, jeans pocket, done. Cargo pockets, done. Clearly, most of the times I throw it inside one of my slings bags. But many times I ended up putting it inside one of the pockets from my cargo pants and go for a walk. The 1/1.7-inch sensors means the whole package stays incredibly compact and light. And what that means in real life is that this camera can go basically everywhere. I had it at concerts. I've pulled it out at dinners, on weekend trips, or just walking around the city. Some of my favorite photos from the past year were shot on this thing precisely because I had it on me. The best camera is the one you have with you. That's not just a cliche, it's genuinely true. And the camera, this compact, this light, with so much creative control, that's a powerful combination. The compact factor means you also go unnoticed, which for street photography is huge. Nobody looks twice at someone with such a small camera. I've even used it for some paid works. Some of the pool shots you've seen were from a paid gig at a pool party. It really surprised me. So, who should actually consider picking one of these up? If you're a street photographer that is looking for an ADC camera, extremely compact and cheap with full manual controls and raw files, this is a strong option in my opinion. If you love that point-and-shoot flash aesthetic and you want some digital results that genuinely feels like they have some grain and soul, this is absolutely worth trying. If you're a photography enthusiast on an extremely tight budget, this is a perfect fit. Of course, it's not the right camera for you if you're looking for an extremely fast and accurate autofocus or any sort of modern connectivity features. But if you can find one of these thrown inside an old bag at your parents' home or at a decent price, possibly below the €100 mark, it is, in my opinion, one of the most underrated everyday carry camera you can find right now. Alright then, that's the Nikon P7000, a 15 years old compact camera that I genuinely love. And I think that it deserves a lot more attention than it gets. If you've ever shot with one of these, or if you go out and find one after watching this video, I really want to hear about it. Drop a comment below and tell me what you think. And if you have any questions about the camera, the workflow, how I edit raw files from this thing, leave those in a comment too, and I'll do my best to answer. If this kind of content is your thing, underrated cameras, EDC setup, street photography talk, make sure you're subscribed, because that's exactly what I'm doing here. And remember to hit the like button if this video was helpful. It genuinely makes a difference. Also, you'll find a bunch of my favorite presets down in the description. If you end up using them, maybe tag me on your Instagram stories, and while you're there, drop me a follow. Thank you. Bye!